I mean, they say that teams have to come in here a lot of times and play at altitude. But I think I'd have to go back and look at the time, but for about a 4-minute stretch there, the opponent had to play against attitude. I think your kids really, at that point, down 9, said, we've got to do something different here. And, and it was at both ends. And, Kiwi, she had, I think there was 3 possessions where she was almost like, it was like, if you could get away with it, she'd be one of those people who's like, bring what you got, because I'm ready for it, and I'm gonna show you at both ends. And she got in at the end on the barrage of 3-pointers there, but, 10, Savannah, man, she touched the ball more than anybody in those possessions, and she also, every time she touched it last, it went in. That was a good spurt there where I think they kind of did play with some attitude.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's you're spot on. I mean, I thought Kiwi and Crystal played really hard in the first half, but when you take Savannah Scott and Savannah Smith off the floor, 2 big-time scorers, 2 glue people, 2 hustle players, Scotty and Savannah, Savannah Smith, they both have a they will the ball in sometimes, even when they're not good shots. They find a way to get to the foul line. And now all of a sudden you're playing against a really seasoned team that is contesting and making all these other people make shots. And that's just what happened. We looked like a little not sure where the ball's going to go in, who's going to make a basket when we took those 2 kids off the floor in the first half. And again, Crystal took some shots and quality shots for her, and they didn't go in. And Kiwi maybe took a couple of shots and didn't go in. And then the other ones are young, and they just didn't even remotely look like basketball players in the first half, just because, the 2 kids that you need on the floor aren't there. So the response, that's really what we talked about at halftime, is like sometimes you just have to have courage, and it's not all about putting the ball in the basket. I mean, I was talking to Tiana Clark just about just her body language and her presence. Like, 1 turnover in a row, how do you respond? And she went to a 2nd turnover in a row, to a 3rd turnover in a row, and those are the responses we're trying to get, like, fixed after the first one, and notice that we haven't scored for 4 possessions, so let's make sure we get a great shot on the 5th one. When you take those kids off the floor, you're asking these young players to think ahead and think about those things, and they're just in their own little world for a few minutes, and that's what
too hard sometimes.
Tries too hard. Bridget and Abby, they were. And we just fumbled around a lot and lost some opportunities, even though we turned them over a lot in the first half. So, the second half was just about, getting Savannah Smith on the court. I think that was the biggest thing, that more than anything, and that relieved a lot of pressure off everybody else. And so Savannah Smith starts making shots, and then all of a sudden everybody else feels like the basket gets a little bit bigger. So, it's great to have to live through some minutes not having our 2 best players on the floor. But I hope those minutes don't happen very often anymore. I hope Savannah Smith doesn't get into foul trouble, and I hope we get Savannah Scott back with us at some point before we get to the tournament.
I was going to say, how close or not is she?
I think we can. We want to get her in a game before the tournament. So, I mean, certainly gearing toward the end of the week. I mean, she's just got to be brought back at a pace that everybody feels comfortable with. And
is she doing any jogging or anything?
She just barely started some today, so she's just on the very first steps of it. And but feel good about where she is, and feel really good about her being full strength when she does get back.
You got 2 to go to put yourself in a position that you drew it up, couldn't be any better. And I think the rest of the conference sees it that way too. And I think North Dakota. Today I was talking to him afterwards, and they see it that way, and they just kind of wait for your team to unload at some point. And he knew when to draw a technical, because it was totally motivational for he thought it was for his team, but it didn't work. But
I think that's the hard part, is like, I mean, I know you were talking to the players. I mean, even if you get a number 1 seed, which we don't have yet, I mean, we're not guaranteed. We're guaranteed a top 4, top 2.
Well, at the end of the day, you'd be number 1 seed.
Yeah.
So I think the issue for us is, Yeah, you get that first round bye, and then you face a North Dakota, who you just struggled like crazy to beat. I mean,
You shouldn't
that's
struggle to beat
crazy.
them, though.
8 or 9. I mean, I don't think especially when you're limited and you're not completely healthy. We haven't separated ourselves that much from a lot of people, and people can beat you if you're not at your best, and if you don't shoot the ball, and you don't score enough points to win. And
You know, I'm
we've
a
got to
firm
find a
believer that
way.
What happened yesterday doesn't mean squat today.
That's
But
right.
it's still, in my opinion, it's a matter of, you put yourself in a position to win as opposed to putting yourself in a position that's either gonna be harder to win or to lose.
Absolutely. That's why you fight really hard for a top 4 seed. And and that's why it's great to be here at home. But honestly, if you want to be good in March, you get used to being on the road, and you pack your bags and you feel good and confident when you're on the road and at a neutral place and get to keep playing.
Who do you look at as, if you looked with everybody with 2 games left, who do you kind of keep an eye on that's kind of hanging around, sneaking around a little bit?
I really don't look at it. I know Idaho is behind us, but I don't know how it plays out. To me, even before this game, it was impossible to imagine where people are going to fall. It looked like North Dakota was pretty much stuck where they are, but very few people are stuck and can't move up or down. They were one of the few. And everybody else could literally leapfrog and get to a top 4 seed or drop down. And we were just worried about making sure we stayed where we were and get that top 4 seed. But
Are you one to analyze comparative scores or no?
never.
And
That's
it's driving me nuts if you do.
Yeah, I don't analyze anybody's stuff other than game footage and what they do, and that doesn't make any sense to me. Even, Idaho loses to Idaho State.
It messes with your head.
Yeah, and they don't score, and Idaho can put up points by the bucket, but they didn't at home against Idaho State. So you have these moments where you don't score and you struggle and you're just not yourself, and you just hope that your defense can sustain it and you can find a way to win. And we were lucky tonight to be able to do that.
Yeah, the first half was ugly.
Yes.
It was like watching a average high school game in a way. It just, passes that were being intercepted, just possessions that it looked like there was nothing set, nobody knew who was going where and what the play was. It was out of sync.
It was. I think it was. I think sometimes you just, again, that just tells you that it's not like we've overcome not having Savannah Scott for a couple of games because we were on a roll, but sometimes the wheels kind of come off because it's just the more minutes you have to put young players in tough environments and tough teams, they're not used to it. They don't know how to adjust as well and as fast. So we're fortunate to win, not being our best, or again, against a really good defensive team with a great scheme. And hopefully, as we get healthy, maybe this ends up being a thing that helps us because it's given our players a lot of minutes on the floor and in tough environments.